Okay, Al, we're recording. Say hello.
Hi.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 71 of the Ministry of Freedom show.
Yeah.
Made it. 71.
71.
It's getting up there. So the podcast, I did some metrics checking today. I didn't really know how to do it on some of the platforms, so I went into Spotify's backend and Apple's backend and looked at some metrics and stuff. So we're growing slightly on audio,
Okay.
but on YouTube, it's insane.
Yeah.
And on YouTube, it's like a hockey stick curve,
Right.
the amount of viewership for the podcast. So that's been pretty cool, but we have to be cognizant of that because every single week there's a ton of people that don't know us yet. And we think everybody's known us for our whole lives, or at least the year and a half we've been doing this. Just not the case, is it?
Nope.
Actually, more than a year and a half. We've been doing this since the fall of 23. So shoot,
Yeah.
I'm getting up there. So the audience, what we want to do today, part of what we're going to do today is let the audience know what we're all about, what we're trying to get done, what our mission is. Yeah, kind of get to know you a little bit. And for those that have been on the journey with us, to get a refresher of where we're pointed.
Okay.
So I think that'll be kind of fun. What else do we have going on? So we have a website.
Yeah. And a store.
Yeah, there's a store in there too. So it's jimmotes.com.
Yep.
And it's a great landing spot to show you everything that we have going on. I've written a couple books. They're available on there.
Yep.
It's also a way to get them for free on there.
Yeah. Yes, there is.
So we've got it. We'll talk about free stuff later. The YouTube, as we just mentioned, is under the Ministry of Freedom show. That's the name of the podcast.
Yep.
So we also have a podcast.
They would know that.
They would know that. Yeah. Unless they're watching a short somewhere else. Maybe it's on Instagram.
That's kind of a stretch.
Speaking of Instagram, so we're very active. I'm very active on Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm at Real Jim Motes. Also on X, same thing.
Yep.
Pretty active on there, but Instagram's certainly my go-to.
You're the social media guy.
Yeah.
Me,
Eh,
yeah.
eh. Yeah.
I don't like the social media.
Yeah, I'm starting to get the hang of it.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's been kind of fun. So that's what we've got going on. So I encourage everybody follow along, join us.
Yep.
I'm posting enough content to where you'll almost get sick of it. But a lot of it is very actionable, encouraging things that can help your life. So tune in. The focal point of our mission, though, even though all the stuff that I just mentioned, the focal point of what we're doing is a school community. Yeah?
Yeah. So what's the elevator pitch?
So I'm going to give a little more than an elevator pitch, although that's a good question. I didn't prepare an elevator pitch, but I wanted to answer a couple questions that I know people are driving around or sitting somewhere and listening to this or watching it, and that they're going to have a question.
Okay.
So we have a school community called Building and Becoming. Here's the first question. What's school?
Oh, yeah.
Right? I was making the assumption people knew that, but go back 90 days. We didn't know what it was. Right? So here's what school is. Skool. The official explanation of what school is. It's an online community platform that allows users to create and manage online communities, courses, and events, both live and on Zoom. So it is an app, essentially, where you go into that particular set of courses. Ours is called Building and Becoming. So if anyone wanted to go to Skool, Skool.com, type in Building and Becoming, it's going to take you right to our page.
They would have to sign. They'd have to.
Oh, to enter Skool. Yeah. So you put your name in so Skool knows who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's pretty easy and very doable.
Oh, yeah.
So there's also links everywhere to be able to do that.
Yep.
And they're on my social pages everywhere. You could reach out and I'll get you a link.
Yep.
So Skool is where the majority of our efforts are being geared right now. So the next question somebody might have is, well, why the name Building and Becoming? What's that mean? Great question, right?
Yeah.
So we're building a foundational faith in Christ while we are becoming strong, fit, and capable.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all about. So we're helping people grow in faith, and we want to help people become healthy and fit, especially in a world that is increasingly so metabolically sick, depressed.
Well, and I like that ing because it means that you're never done. Like you're always going to be chasing something. That's why when people are like, well, how much weight do you want to lose, or when are you done, or what's your end game? There isn't one.
Yeah.
Like, you're constantly striving to be the best that you can ever be.
How long's your diet? I'm not on a diet ever.
Yeah.
This is just my lifestyle.
That's why I hate that whole cancel diet culture thing.
Dude, the whole thing.
It's for people that don't want to change and want to find a reason why people who are trying to change are shaming the
Yeah.
"Don't you understand that I had an eating disorder?" crap.
You're right. As we've grown the YouTube and as we've grown my Instagram platform, the amount of hate that comes in from messages that you put out there that seem pretty benign. So it would be if you've been metabolically sick and overweight for too long and you'd like to change, I've been there, reach out so I have an opportunity to help you. You can't believe how many people jump on there and tell me I'm fat shaming people and I'm gaslighting people. And I'm like, well, I just said I used to be that too. And I have a better life now. And I'd like to pass that on to other folks.
Well, are the ones that you post that are a little bit more direct and some kind of hard truths, the hard pills that you call
Yeah,
them
hard pills to swallow.
when you make those. And those are the ones where people get really offended.
Yeah.
And I think they get offended because some of that is if they really do a personal inventory, they're like, yeah, and that's why they get so upset.
Yeah, and that anger, it's just vitriol. It's
Mhm.
amazing. And then when you go do a little bit of a deeper dive on the folks that are putting all that hatred out there, I mean, you're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Kind of see who I'm
It's not
dealing with.
me that you're mad at. You're mad at yourself.
Yeah, I can see who I'm dealing with. So that's the school.
Yep.
What school is, what building becoming is, why we have that name,
Yep.
and what we are trying to get done.
Yep.
And we'll dive into more of that here as we go through the show. We like to have scriptures in the show.
Yep.
So I have two that I think are going to be very life-giving for where we're trying to take the talk today. 2 Corinthians 5:17. It reads, "This means that anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. The old life is gone and a new life has begun." So we're not trying, or we're not I want to back up. Let's just talk about you and I, right? Regardless of the other people that we're trying to help and invite into our community and into our lives, you and me, we're not trying to become better versions of our old selves. We're new creations. We're new. You're not who you once were. That scripture is proof of that.
Correct.
You're not a cleaned up version of the old self. You're new. Thoughts?
Well, I'd never looked at it that way. I always thought that I was becoming a better version of the Allie of yesterday. So that's a different way to look at it.
I'll dive into it more, but here's something to think about before we get there later on. Take sobriety, for instance. There's people that used to be alcoholics, but instead of embracing a new creation in themselves, they still believe they're still that alcoholic who just doesn't drink.
Okay, that makes sense when you put it that way. It's identity. It's what you and I've been
Exactly
talking
right.
about. Yeah.
And the Bible teaches us that our new identities are in Christ and not that old stuff. So for the audience that might not know, I've been sober for almost 22 years, and I don't even use the term sober other than to explain it because for me it's freedom, not sobriety. So I was invited, to some AA type of meetings, AA and NA meetings, a couple years after I had stopped drinking and using drugs. And they really weren't super welcoming when I tried to explain I'm not going to do the identifying part of the meeting, or I'm not going to raise my hand and say, "Hey, I'm Jim, alcoholic addict." And they're like, "Well, why wouldn't you do that? Are you in denial about your disease?" And I said, "No, I don't have a disease. I used to be an alcoholic and a drug addict, and now I'm free and I'm a new creation in Christ because although the big book, the AA guide, although the big book has helped a lot of people and given them advice and encouragement, I choose to use the biggest book, so to speak, and that's the Bible. And the Bible tells me this. So they both can't be true."
Right. But I'd like to put a disclaimer to that. Today that you still can't use drugs and drink alcohol because of that person that you were then, regardless if God's walking in your life.
So yeah, that's an interesting point. So let's talk about it. To say that I know that I can't because I used to take it too far, I would say there's truth to that, but that's not how my thought process works. My thought process works in this way. I'm free from that compulsion and those addictions, and I choose every day to live a life that is sober. It is free from those things, a life that is alert. I want to not partake in that because I think those decisions keep me from being my best.
Yeah, I can see that, and how your brain works there, but I think that we should disclaimer to the audience that if you choose to follow Jim's way in there, which I think is a great way, that because you find power with Christ does not mean that you'll feel the same way that Jim does and not have the desire to use and do drugs, or you'll become free and then decide that you
Yeah.
can go out and use and not suffer
Great point.
consequences.
And it's quite possible if I went out and had 2 Budweisers and watched a football game
Mhm.
that I'm going off the deep end a little bit.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. But I also don't white knuckle my way through life like a lot of people
It
do.
doesn't cross your mind anymore.
No, it's
Yeah.
not. Right.
Well, and because Jim doesn't drink, but I enjoy an occasional drink every once in a while, and you can be in those situations with me at a restaurant while I'll drink, and it doesn't.
Right. It's not a trigger.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't have those
because you
things.
don't live with your something controlling you.
That's right.
And I think that's the difference when it's a substance or something like that where it has a hold on you. That's all you think about. It's like the smoker who's trying to quit. Well, when can I go on break to smoke and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Oh, I think that's a great way to put it. So that the new creation thing it's a challenge for people to open your minds and think that way. Also want to back up and say that AA has helped and continues to help millions and millions of people around the world. And it's a great program and I recommend it.
Well, and it helps because of why? Community
It does.
too.
Community, yes.
Yeah.
And accountability
Yeah.
and getting a sponsor. And what do they say? Keep coming back. It works.
Yep.
It works if you work it.
Because back in the Stone Age, is that where people walked around with the fur?
Okay. Yeah.
Caveman?
Yes.
They did everything together. The men hunted together, the women cooked together because people are meant to do things together.
Yeah.
And that's what makes us successful as humans, which is why building becoming, I think, is so amazing, is because we have people that are like-minded, that are chasing the same goals and get to celebrate victories and celebrate losses. And we do it together. So you're not alone.
Yeah.
And you can be like, all my other buddies want to go out and get beers on Friday night, but I want to sit at home and read. And you've got people that are like, yeah, you're the 1%. And that's really great. But you've got your naysayers of your friends that are like, ugh, you're boring.
Yeah.
So I think that's really great.
It provides an avenue for people that want to be set apart and different from what the world tells them is acceptable and cool. It provides them a fun environment where they can go, like you said, with people that are on the same path.
Yeah.
So they don't feel like outcasts and weirdos. They're like, these people, I kind of like the lives they have, and I like their attitudes and how they look and how the energy they have, and they seem to be high frequency, positive, engaged people. I want to be more like them. I just don't know where to find them. Now you do.
Yeah. Here's a source.
Yeah, good word. I got a second scripture.
Okay.
So bonus.
All right.
Romans 12:2. Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you'll learn to know God's will for you, which is good, pleasing, and perfect. So it's the same theme, right? The new creation, the new person. You have to let God transform you into that new person by changing what's up here. It starts and stops up here with mindset, because the physicality change, the attitude change, none of that stuff, the behavior and habit change, none of that's going to manifest until you can take control of your mindset.
No, 1,000%.
So I love those two scriptures, 2 Corinthians 5:17 and Romans 12:2. Go and do a little checking out of those and some research. All right, so let's dive a little deeper into building and becoming.
Okay.
I got a lot of notes. Pages of notes.
I have limited Jim to 60 seconds.
60 minutes, I hope.
60 minutes.
Yeah, so
downstairs.
before we hit the record button, she goes, you got 60 minutes, go.
And I checked the time, so
Yeah.
I do know what time.
And I have a timer on my screen, so at 60 minutes, you guys are all off the hook, so I hope we finish.
I will get up, and then Jim will be left, so you'll have to deal with him.
Hello. I've done solo casts. I'm okay with it.
Not for a hot minute.
Nope, it's been a while. So what we're going to discuss today, I just want to be clear with everybody. It's not a sales pitch. So it's not like you're have to sit here and get pitched on a timeshare or something. This isn't a sales pitch about building and becoming, but it is an explanation of who we are and what we offer. And instead of a sales pitch, what it is an offer to help people grow and transform.
Yeah.
And there are going to be people that are like, yeah, sounds like exactly what I've been missing from my life. Then there's going to be some people that can't wait to pick up their phone and send an angry comment, because it really is a line of demarcation. There's the people that think this is something that they'd be down with, and then there's people that just think it's
The
nonsense.
pendulum really does swing one way or another. There's no happy medium. No.
Which I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that takes all the nonsense out.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't want people in my life that are either or.
Me neither.
Mhm.
No, I don't either. So I'm going to get a little bit political, but not down the whole politics rabbit hole like I normally might do. So RFK Jr. was
Yes.
sworn in as Health and Human Services Secretary, cabinet position.
Yep.
And I was very happy about that. He was sworn in the other day, and I took some notes from his first presser. He said the health crisis in America must be addressed, not just from the physical, but from the mental health side. And most importantly, he said, there's a spiritual crisis in our country that's leading to the decisions that have 70% of the population overweight or obese, millions of people on meds, including millions of youth who've been on stimulants for ADHD for decades. And I thought, wow, first off, let's unpack that. We've got this cabinet position guy that's talking about a spiritual awakening that's needed in our country. Praise God. Amen to that.
Well, and the kids are over medicated, which I appreciate. Arlie was in kindergarten and her teacher I wasn't a big fan. And Arlie, if anyone who's listening to this knows who Arlie is, she's a free-spirited child. She reacts a lot on emotion sometimes. She'll tell you how it is. And I think we're walking a fine line between figuring out how to love that fire, but also, and not put it out, but also tame it down just a bit. But her kindergarten teacher told me that I should probably look at putting her on ADHD meds because she was too much in class. And I was absolutely not. I will switch her classroom, switch her schools before I medicate her being a free spirited thing. But that in public school systems, the first thing that they want to do is shut them up, take away their recess, and medicate them.
Exactly right.
Yep.
And RFK Jr. is at the forefront of everything that you and I discuss.
Mm-hmm.
It's like hearing it from his mouth, like he's been sitting with us at the dinner table. So he wants to help lead people to a life of foundational faith. Ring a bell?
Yep.
Which he believes will ultimately lead them to love and care for their bodies and health. So that faith leads them to want to take care of themselves.
Yep.
Which, again, I feel like I've been saying that for as long as I can remember.
Right.
And then he touched on it's important to pass that on to future generations.
Oh, exactly. We were at Costco the other day looking for new juices for Arlie to drink. And the fun ones, the ones that they have and the kids commercials and on the YouTube and everything like that, are the ones that her eyes go straight towards. But they're pumped up with all these ingredients that you can't pronounce. They're $5 cheaper than the other stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what we're running into. You have to really search for good stuff to put in these kids' bodies.
Yeah. I was talking to you the other day. I think it's like red number 3 or red dye number 5,
banned.
whichever one it is.
Yeah.
So they've known for 30 years that it's a carcinogen.
Mm-hmm.
And close to 30 years ago, it was removed from cosmetics because they know it causes cancer. But today, it's still in our food.
Yeah, but it's banned everywhere else.
Yes, and they just banned it in the United States about a month ago, but they are letting
3 years.
they're letting manufacturers slow walk it for a few years. So this stuff was found, and it's made from petroleum, by the way, from fuel. And so they put it in makeup, and they're like, hey, this causes cancer. Get it out of makeup right away, but let's go ahead and keep feeding it to our population. And it's largely in foods that are dyed for children.
Yeah, the Fruit Loops and the tricks and all that stuff.
So yeah, but RFK is at the forefront of that. So I thought that was pretty cool. So the message that I just went over about how he's talking about a foundational faith can lead people to better health decisions and then pass that on in generations and help the country be more healthy. And all of that stuff speaks to me so much. In fact, it's why we left the corporate world to start all this in the first place.
Yeah.
That's what the mission was. when we sat down and talked about, okay, what are we passionate about doing? Because we had fun at what we did, and it certainly was lucrative. We were in the auto industry and the finance side of the auto industry, and that was lucrative and fun. And we helped some people, but boy, it certainly wasn't impactful in helping people improve their lives. Generally, it
Right.
provided a solution to people who really didn't pay their bills, who needed a car loan.
Yeah, they had a small problem.
Yeah, and we helped fix that, and we did a lot of good there. But so I'm going to get a bit transparent. So we left that, and now we find ourselves doing this. So I'm going to get transparent here from a personal and a financial perspective. Okay. So everyone, I said I wrote a couple books. If you go read the first book, it's called I Asked God to Kill Me. You'll realize that I come from no money. Right? I was as poor as anybody when I was a kid.
Mo Valley.
Yeah. And we weren't homeless, but we weren't wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. And after I left home, I was even more poor. And so, I was just pretty down in the dumps for several years. So I come from no money. I was fat. As I said, I was addicted. I was angry. I had no purpose. And thus the title of the first book, ultimately suicidal.
Yeah.
I had a radical encounter with Jesus. And that's what I talk about in the first book. And I'm very open about it. I pursued Jesus through different avenues. So discipleship, church, men's groups, reading the Bible, a very consistent morning devotional time. And I started growing closer and closer to Christ. So I began to build a new life, new businesses, improved fitness and health. And I knew after watching the direction of our country, kind of around COVID, the 2020 time, with how the COVID stuff, the riots, the progressive takeover, that I needed to step up and make an impact. And I got to thinking at that time, because you mentioned Arlie, but I didn't have any children. I don't have any children of my own biologically. And at that point, didn't have Arlie in my life. And legacy was starting to be something I was thinking about. What am I going to leave? What's my life going to be about? What's the purpose going to be about? And that led me to wanting to exit all of that stuff and start building something different. So it's important for the audience to know this part about our situation. And it's not meant to boast by any stretch. I'm not a big braggadocious type of dude, but the audience needs to know that we're not in this for the money. So the YouTube and the podcast and the posts and the building and becoming and selling some t-shirts on our website and selling some books and all those things, we're not in this for the money. I exited the prior businesses with, would you agree, without giving a dollar amount, it could be considered a fairly substantial amount of money?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's being honest.
Yeah.
That left us financially secure.
Right.
And so we use that freedom to give away a lot of our time. We give away a lot of books.
Yep.
PDFs that we've made that are helpful to people. We give those away for free.
One-on-ones with people all the time.
All the time. One-on-one coaching sessions for people for nothing.
Yep.
Training plans, meal plans, certainly entrepreneurial advice. We give so much of that away for free for people that will reach out.
Yeah.
So I've used this adage for years when I was in the marketplace and building businesses, and I still live and work by it now. We're not in business to make money.
Right.
But
we need money to do business.
We need to make money to continue to do business.
Yeah.
And when you approach your endeavors from that perspective, money won't be the main thing. Mission will become the main thing, and the money will follow.
Because you're focusing on a different side of the equal sign. I leaned forward and then
smashed into it.
I almost ate the microphone. But it's really, and I think that really helps. Yesterday, I sent out a message to somebody about joining, because I love it.
Yeah,
I'm very
passionate.
Very proud of us. And so someone sent back a message and saying that this was fraud and how we're scamming and just kind of a yeah, I didn't know if I could say that.
You can say anything you want.
But I was like, ew, you're nasty.
Yeah.
And so I was sent her like all of the stuff, like the website and the podcast, the YouTube channel, and all of this stuff. And she's like, well, if it's found fraud, I'll shut you down. Okay.
Yeah.
And so
All
then,
right, dude, you work at PayPal.
yeah. You realize I went to high school with you, right? Like, okay. But I was so upset. I was like, I don't spend hours. Jim doesn't spend hours and hours every day trying to do something to scam people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
be
So
so for real.
yeah. So we didn't leave our businesses and sell our interests in those and invest money and get return from that. And then we have other endeavors too from in the real estate
Yeah.
world and things. So we're not doing all this. So we're like, hey, you know what? Let's set up a scam and let's do this podcast and let's help people out. And at some point we'll pull the carpet out from under them and we'll scam them.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
My heart could not take doing that to another
I mean, come
person.
on.
Gosh, no. And so I was just like, okay, do whatever
Yeah.
you need to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Happy vetting. And
Yeah.
I was just like,
Happy vetting.
yeah. And so I was like, I just hope that you do all your vetting and come back and decide to join the group.
Yeah.
But at this point, if I'm being real honest, I hope she doesn't reach back out to me
Yeah.
because,
She won't.
yeah, that negativity it's bad company cor- corrupts good character.
Does.
That was hard for me to get out.
Yeah. Tough to listen to. I'm kidding.
That was so rude. So, but
Back to scamming.
yeah, but then that I think that our group is really important. And although it's open to everybody to take a look at, not everybody will get the opportunity to come in.
Yeah. So I like to say our group's for everybody, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that I'm glad you shared that story because that was just it's a head shaker. I'm like, yep, that's who's out there. That's the world, right? This
Yeah.
can't be real.
I know because that's too good to be true, right?
Yep. Yeah. So let's move on. So the people we talked about, offering gifts and things, and,
Mhm.
and I'm happy to do that because I think people are positively impacted. But when you receive something like that, you're not as positively impacted. You're not maximizing that gift's impact as much as if you have an actual investment in something. And that's why I encourage those folks. And it's not a scam, but I'll do like, hey, let me do an hour-long coaching call. And then after getting to know somebody and figuring out what their wants are and desires and what they're trying to get from their next season of life, if it's a good fit, I'll be like, hey, you know what I think the next step is I'd love for you to sign up for Building and Becoming. And yeah, it costs money.
Right.
Go ahead.
I've joined a program like this before in the past, and I had to fill out a bunch of interview questions, and then I had to do a phone call to make
Yeah.
sure that um, I was willing to put in the work for one, and that I and my coach's personalities could like mesh well together.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really important too. But we'll have to edit this out. I just lost my train of thought.
You can probably leave it in because it's just funny. You're just a person. I have a train of thought. Maybe it'll bring you back to it. You were talking about getting in Emily's thing.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Emily Hayden, but a few years ago, I did her program. It was for a couple of months, and that really kickstarted my fitness journey and helped me provide the knowledge that I use today. But it was a process to get in. And so we do spend time, Jim mostly spends time getting to know these people, doing the questions, kind of figuring out what their wants are and their needs are and how we can help. But again, disclaimer here, we are not guaranteeing anything. We're not guaranteeing that you're going to find this big revelation with God or you're going to lose a bunch of weight. We have the tools that are simply going to help you maximize and reach what you're trying to do. But if you don't pick them up,
Yeah.
nothing's going to happen.
And we're trying to live it out in front of people.
Mhm.
So all of the advice and tools we're giving are what we do on a daily basis to grow closer to Christ, closer to each other, be
Right.
better parents and partners, and become fit, strong, and capable. We do it every day. This is
Right.
our lifestyle. Yeah. So that's a good word.
I really can't remember what I was going to say.
Well, it might come to you. As long as it's within the hour.
It was so good.
All right. Well, it'll come back. So what I'd like to share with people, because we talked about freebies and then I asked them to invest into our company. So with no investment, there's no commitment. With no commitment from people, there's no growth. With no growth, there cannot be transformation. And that's what we're doing here. Transformation is the goal of building and becoming. And that's why the scriptures that we read talked about new creation and transformation. And what's the key component of that? Well, it's God
Yep.
to get you to that
Yep.
top level. The next course, so I'll give you guys a peek behind the curtain. So I'm sorry, building and becoming people, the exclusives are getting out to the world. But
Dun, dun, dun.
so we record course material in the Skool app, and it's always there for people to go in and watch and rewatch and take notes and learn from. It's called the Classroom, and they're ever evolving, and we're always adding to them.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
Yeah, hours and hours worth, and we're constantly adding to them. And we do post some on YouTube just to give people a peek behind the curtain, a little bit of a freebie. And if you want to go deeper, get with us, and we can get you into the community.
Yep.
So that's what we throw the content out there for. So the next thing in building and becoming, folks aren't even aware of this yet. The next course matter that we're going to be recording and discussing on our targeted trainings, which are our weekly Zoom calls that we do, it's going to be the 4 stages of personal growth.
Yep.
So I've been working on these for a while, and I wanted to share them with you all.
Yep.
Even though you're not yet in building and becoming. So let's unpack the 4 stages of personal growth. Okay. You know them yet? Okay. Step 1, stage 1. So it's just remain.
Yep.
Right? So remaining is kind of what it sounds. I'm just going to stay stagnant.
Yep.
I'm hoping I don't kind of go backwards, but I'm really not going to, I'm interested in putting any work in advancing. So I'm in the remain stage.
Right.
Okay. No judgment. You're just in the remain stage. Now, the next step up the ladder, then the second stage in personal growth and development would be change. All right. Now we're on to something, aren't we?
Yep.
So change is, I call it slight improvements, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe instead of going out and getting drunk 3 times a week, I might do it once a week. Or maybe I'll, instead of energy drink at lunch, I might have a bottle of water. Or you're just making small incremental changes. Maybe I'll go for a walk on Sunday.
Right.
Okay, great. Those are positive things, aren't they?
Yeah, a step in the right direction.
That's right. So change is important.
Yep.
Number 3 is optimization.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big word. And it's a big power word in my life. And I'm all about optimization. And that's becoming the best version of yourself. So that's got to be the top, right? No, that's why there's 4. So optimization is great, but it's maximizing everything that you can do. It's optimized in all levels. What could be higher on a growth chart than optimization?
Right.
Transformation. So the 4th stage, the 4th level of personal growth and development is transformation. And that's the ultimate target. So transformation is becoming that new creation, becoming unrecognizable to people that haven't seen you in a year. They're going to take a look at you first off physically and be like, what the heck happened to this person?
And then listen to the way that you talk.
And then watch your countenance. How are you carrying yourself?
Right.
Where are you working? What are you driving? Where are you living? Who are you spending your time with? Is there a difference in your partner and your family, your children? How are you carrying yourself in general? And what's the trajectory of your new life? Because you're not a cleaned up version of that old self. You are a new creation.
Yeah.
Now, we still have our same kind of personalities and our traits and our senses of humor and stuff, because God doesn't want to just undo everything that he made. He created us. But he does when we come to him and say, I've gone as far as I can on my own, and I've put in so much time, effort, energy, and investment to become optimized. I can't do any more on my own. He
Without
says,
you. Yeah.
Right. But with me, you can do all things.
Right.
And that takes us back to the scriptures. So in my notes, and this, I really studied this a lot, and I've been putting these together, and this came to me, and I thought, I think this is the truth. The first 2 levels can be achieved solo with really not that much investment or accountability or advanced training and encouragement. So you can remain stagnant and you can have some change.
Yeah.
Kind of on your own, can't you?
Yeah.
Now, the next one, optimization, that's for those who develop discipline and who are willing to make small sacrifices for a better life. And in order to realize optimization, you do invite somebody in. Doesn't have to be a whole community, but it's normally a workout buddy or somebody you can talk to. But you can reach it on your own. It's just better with a little bit, maybe 1-2 other people in your life helping you.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah.
Now, that final transformation, that only happens when a person surrenders their life to Christ. That's a big word for people, isn't it?
Yep.
Surrender.
Because control.
I'm not giving that part up. I'm not giving that part up. I'm holding on to this.
Right.
So when you surrender your life to Christ, you receive the Holy Spirit. And then that person believes the supernatural power is inside of them to go beyond anything they could do on their own. And I'm a walking testament to that. There's no way that I went from who I was to who I am sitting here today with my own willpower, with my own drive and determination and discipline and all those buzzwords that are so popular to sell books. There's no way apart from the transformative power of Jesus Christ and accepting what he did for me on the cross and living my life to honor him and praise him and offer my body as a sacrifice to him, understanding that I'm a temple to the Holy Spirit and my decisions come from that reality. That's how I've been able to transform in every way, physically, spiritually, relationally, emotionally, financially. I'm a new creation, 100%. And I don't say that boastfully. I say that to point other people to Jesus. Well, I don't know Jesus. I've never been in church. I never opened a Bible. Yeah, me neither. When I was 31 years old, I was in the same boat. But you know what? I reached out to somebody that I knew had an experience with Jesus, and it changed my life. And you can do that too. Where do they find those people, Allie? Well, we're those people.
Right.
You can reach out to us.
Yep.
We have a community of people who are passionate about doing that. In fact, so we're recording this on a Saturday.
Yes.
2 nights ago, we did our weekly Zoom call because we do one Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Central Time.
Targeted trainings.
Yep. And close to the beginning of that, it was just on my heart to say, before we dive into the lesson, I just have the feeling that a couple people need some prayer. And 2 people raised their hands. They came off mute and they're like, yeah, I could use some prayer for this. And I could use some prayer for this. And so I just didn't write it down and say, oh, hey, everyone, agree to pray for them. What did we do?
We prayed.
We prayed, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a group that's talking about entrepreneurial things and personal growth and personal excellence and development and all those things. But we also are going to take time in the middle of a targeted training to pray.
Yeah, show love.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how you show love.
Yeah.
Right? Instead, because a lot of people will say, oh, I'll pray for you, darling. Okay, well, how about we do it now?
Right.
Right.
Drop what we're doing and do it. Yep.
Yeah, because it's important, isn't it?
Yep.
Priorities. Yeah. So I think transformation is where community becomes most necessary. And I would also agree if a person wants to be in the remain or change stage, community is probably not for them. It doesn't mean there wouldn't be a benefit, but there wouldn't be a maximum benefit because they'd enter into it thinking, I don't want anything beyond slight change. This all seems like a little too much for me.
Yeah, extreme.
Yeah, It's too over the top. This is too extreme.
Right.
I'm too busy for this. I don't have enough money for this.
Yep.
So the second part of what we're going to dive into in the coming weeks in Building and Becoming, after we discuss the 4 levels, stages of personal growth and development, are what I call D.A.R.E to become unrecognizable. So D.A.R.E.
Mm-hmm.
That is, decide which level of those 4 you desire. So first you got to figure out where you're at. Then honestly, what do you desire? And I think if we ask people, just because they don't want to feel bad and they want to say the right thing, even if they don't want to do anything beyond slight change, they're going to be like, I want transformation. But really, just do an honest self-assessment, everybody. Ask yourself, which of those 4 levels, remain, change, optimize, or transformation, which do you really desire? So that's the first part, decide. That's the D. The A in D.A.R.E, align. So then once we make that decision and we're accountable because we've shared it with the group, now we're going to align our habits and priorities accordingly. And that means we got to prune some stuff out of our lives, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We got to get rid of some stuff.
Yeah.
And then we have to add some stuff.
Right.
And then we have to align those habits.
Yep.
So they're going to push us towards that level that we said we desire. So that's the A. So it's decide, then align. The R in D.A.R.E, relentlessly execute the habits. So not just once in a while. Relentlessness is a trait that we try very hard to develop in our Building and Becoming community along with discipline.
Right.
Consistency, discipline, and relentlessness.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key, because habits need to be done day in and day out, or they're really not even habits, are they? They're just sometimes behaviors. It's an oxymoron to say, I only do this habit once in a while.
Well, I think it takes a long time. Well, not a long time, but it takes a while for something to become a habit, which is why you have to do that thing every single day. 'Cause sometimes it could take 30 to 60 days for it to become a habit. Before it's just because a habit to me is you do it without thinking. So like every morning you get up and you make your coffee and you do your Devo time and then you go down to the gym. Like that's a habit for you, but it's not a habit for most people to get up and go to the gym. They have to make themselves think about that they need to go out and do that. But having the discipline to every day allows you to form that habit.
That's the word. Yep. And then you write it down until it becomes habit. So the night before, you write a note that says tomorrow morning, Devo, gym, and you commit to it before you go to bed. You're making a promise to yourself before you go to bed. Then when that alarm goes off, instead of hitting snooze, you're putting your feet over the side of the bed and you're like, well, I got to get up because I made a promise to myself. It's not yet a habit, but that discipline means keeping promises to yourself.
Mhm.
That discipline will get you out of bed and going. And you're right. After 3, 4, 5 weeks, now you've developed habits.
Yep. Yeah, it takes some time, but it can be done.
Yeah. So the R is relentlessly execute those habits. And then the E, so D.A.R.E, the E is evaluate. Constantly, we're going to evaluate, review, reflect, and adjust. We're going to evaluate what's working in our lives. I've adjusted my habits and I'm relentlessly chasing after them and I'm disciplined in all of my actions until they become habits. But this one doesn't seem to be life-giving. Okay, we're not just going to keep doing something that isn't working. We need to be in a constant state of evaluation, don't we?
Yeah, I think Sunday is a good day for that.
It's a wonderful time to do that.
It's right before you hit the new week, so you can kind of figure out what worked for you this last week. Where did you drop the ball? What can be done to do better for next week? So you're always going. And then I think that works, especially if you're trying to trace a goal.
Yeah.
When you're pursuing it, you need to constantly check your progress along the way. So it allows you to stop, take a look around, and see where you dropped the ball. I think that's a really great acronym.
Yeah. So decide, align, relentlessly execute, and evaluate.
Mhm.
That's the D.A.R.E to become unrecognizable.
Right on.
And we're going to really have a fun next few weeks in our group training on this, recording modules for the classroom.
Right.
We're going to do some deep dives on this. And anybody that's listening that would want a little more information on this, reach out to me. I'm very easy to get a hold of. And after we talk, if it's a good fit, I'm going to ask you to come into our community because I think that's going to be the next step. And I think it's important for you. So moving on. We good?
Yeah.
We're still okay on time because I got my thing here. Okay. So to be clear, we aren't selling a weight loss plan. Okay.
Yes.
Or diet fads or any of that nonsense. Okay. What we're offering candidates, we are offering candidates to apply to become part of the community. Right. And you said you were part of Emily Hayden's thing. I've been part of Arete, put on by Andy Frisella and Ed Milet. I went through a month-long application and vetting process for that.
Yeah, it takes a while.
Yeah. And this won't be that exhaustive because I get a pretty good feel for whether or not you're part of us or not, or at least you have a desire to grow and become. So it won't be that long of a process, but we're offering candidates to apply to become part of the Skool community through a paid membership. Okay. So in community, we grow, instruct, encourage, have fun. We communicate a lot.
Yep.
We pray for each other, as I touched on.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We do Bible studies. We've got another one tomorrow.
Giveaways.
We do giveaways.
Yeah, free merch. Person in our community just won a duffel bag.
Yep.
So that's really great.
A building and becoming very cool duffel bag.
It's got our logo on it. It's amazing. You can also, if you'd like one yourself, you can purchase it on our store.
That's true.
Yeah.
JimMotes.com. So we do all that cool stuff and we get the privilege of watching each other transform.
And you also, I think, meet really cool friends.
Yeah.
I've got a girlfriend in the group now. I knew before because we grew up together, but I didn't have a strong relationship with her before. A lot of it was like Christmas, and then our daughters are around the same age, so that kind of relationship. But now I'm pretty sure I talk to her every day at this point, and that's love. I love that. I genuinely care about the people that are in the group, and it's nice, I think, for two men, and I'm obviously not a man, but to experience love because I think if you show love in today's society, you're gay, and that's wrong.
Exactly.
But I think it's nice for two men to be able to be like sad and to feel that emotion and to have a good, like, genuine connection there.
Yeah. I like that you touched on that because one of the most impactful relationships that I've learned to enter into are heterosexual, intimate relationships with other dudes.
Mhm.
And that's okay. I know how that sounds, but you said intimate, but that just means a real closeness that goes well beyond just casual friendship.
Yeah.
When you have a real intimacy with another dude that you can share your heart with, that you can trust, that he'll hold you accountable and vice versa, and will lift you up in his prayer time each morning and just check in on you and say, "Hey, how's things going?" I mean, that's man, that's valuable. That's been life-changing for me.
Yeah, you are the 5 people that you keep.
Yeah.
And I recently learned that in a book that I just read, and that's really been really impactful to me because it's allowed me to be reevaluate the friendships that are in my life and be like, "We're not going the same path. I can't have you in my life," and understand that this is a boundary that I'm setting. I'm not hurting anybody's feelings, and it's okay for me to move past people because I'm growing and they're either not growing or they're shrinking back, and I can't have that.
Yep, can't have it.
Yeah. And another a good nugget, since I'm sharing both of these, if you are doing something and it doesn't give you the hell yes, total excitement feeling in your gut, stop doing it. I think that's really cool.
So in other words, people doing things out of just obligation.
Yeah, because for me, I have struggled with boundaries and people pleasing, and I obligate myself for too much, and I hate it. And then I'm disconnected with my family because I've given everything else to everybody else instead of my home life, and I have stopped. And so now I'm operating in a feeling of I'm not going to set myself up for commitments unless it gives me the hell yes feeling in my stomach because I need to pour into me first before I pour into everybody else.
It's good. Thank you for that. I wanted to let the audience know because you mentioned you're reading a couple of books. They're from Rachel Hollis.
Yep. So I'm on her third book. She has written "Girl, Wash Your Face," which is kind of the overlay of that book is about like setting boundaries and people pleasing and removing toxic energy out of your life. Um, "Girl, Stop Apologizing" is about it. Her books are geared towards women, but
But not just
yeah,
women.
everyone
There's
should
life lessons in there.
everyone
I'm going to read them.
Everyone should read it. And then her second book is about embracing who you are and being okay with that and setting clear boundaries and loving yourself. And the third book, I'm reading it right now. That one is kind of about walking through trauma, whether it's divorce, loss of relationship, and kind of figuring out who your identity is. Because I think us as humans, if we lose a job, our identity is in that job, and how do we rebuild? Or with me, sometimes my identity is wrapped up a lot in Arlie. I'm Arlie's mom. I feel bad and I have mom guilt, whatever that means, if something doesn't go right. And so this book has been really cool to be like, my identity is me. I get to decide who my identity is. And walking with Christ, I am his daughter. And that means that I'm perfect. And that's all that matters. So her 3 books are great. If you guys don't read anything else, well, sorry, Jim. If you guys, I was gonna say if you guys don't read anything else, and then it'd be like, well, they obviously should read your books too. But
You don't have to. Read Rachel Hollis. She's really good. She's better than me.
But yeah,
No, that's good. Thank you for sharing that. I want to just give a brief overview of some of the courses that are available in the classroom.
okay.
You want to run through the list and I'll fill in any holes?
So the first one we have is gym and fitness, not to be confused with
Yeah,
J.
GYM,
Yeah.
gym and fitness.
And so in there, I have written an ebook, and that kind of gives us the overrun of what our program is, why it's really important to strength train and eat protein, and what lifting is and how to lift. You'll find exercises in there. You'll find what workout equipment to use. And it talks about who Jim and I are, what our mission statement is. So that's really cool. You'll also find recipes because I think one of the things that was really hard for me when I started this was what the heck do I eat? And everything on Pinterest is made with heavy cream, and I can't eat that. So you'll find a million recipes in there, and that's constantly evolving. And there's such good stuff. The other day, I had a Dairy Queen dupe like raspberry thing. And I'm on 75 hard right now. So day 20. So I can't have, so I can't have sugar. So I used like sugar-free chocolate chips and like this hemp heart stuff and everything. I mean, it was so good, but it makes it so that it's fun. The food that you're eating is fun and tasteful.
Yeah.
And then you'll also hear things of like, why do you do this? What's important? And you'll hear our whys and the fitness categories. We talk about faith. So that's a really big important one.
There's a faith module, a faith course. Sorry.
And then mindset, because you can't do this at all, any of it in the building and becoming unless your mind is right. So we put hours in there of developing, and these courses in the classroom, they're not hours long. Some of them are 6 minutes, some of them are 19 minutes. And they're easy. You just plug your car in your Apple Play or whatever, and you can listen to them while you drive. We have the targeted trainings, and then those are on Thursdays. So that's where you're going to see all of the members kind of talking, and you'll hear the questions that are asked. We'll also have, is it sales and
entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So for all the car guys that are listening to this, these are good. I mean,
let me interrupt you real quick. So I come from that field, and I even have a text thread with the car guys, the car people that are in building and becoming.
Sorry.
And I'll shoot them a few texts a week when I come across a nugget, or I've thought about this, or, hey, here's this objection that I know comes up a lot. Try this. Let's use this tactic. So they get nuggets sent to them directly throughout the weekend. I'm not going to share them on here because that's exclusive stuff. And it's super helpful. And these guys are like, you know what? Next up I get, the customer. Next up I get, I'm running out there and I'm going to try this. And so it's been fun for me to jump back into that training role a little bit from the automobile perspective.
Because I think the most successful tool in sales is role playing. So for doing that customer and salesperson conversation via text thread where it allows them to role play with each other, I think that's really helpful. And then we have the after hours.
Yeah, the overtime. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of fun. And that's really just banter. So that's stuff that might not be the most, I don't know, buttoned up.
It's not appropriate. So what it is, it's like, it's the two of us sitting here, we're doing this podcast. As soon as I hit stop, we're going to hit record again, and then we're going to do a few minutes of less appropriate, less buttoned up behind the scenes that we're going to immediately post in the school. So everybody knows on days we do podcasts, I'll say, hey, we got a new overtime up. They'll know run to it and watch, the wackiness ensue.
Yeah. But they're great. Oh, and then I've made some cooking videos.
Yeah.
So it's Cooking with Allie, and those are up, and I think they're good.
Good. Yeah. Also, so one of the books I wrote is called Suck Cycle. It's a 7-week program. It's a 75 hard-ish program that is faith-based and not as stringent, I guess is a great way to put it.
I would agree. Yeah. If you mess up during the suck cycle, you don't have to start back over on day one. You just start your day over.
And the reason I mention is I think that I'm going to end up developing a separate course in the classroom that's just for suck cycle.
I would think that'd be a good idea, because we've got people that listen to this that are doing the suck cycle right now, and that'd be a nice place that they can go.
Yeah. So our man Jerry Johnson was on a couple months ago. He and his wife Nancy they are only about a week or two away from finishing their first suck cycle. So shout out to the Johnsons. Guys. Awesome job. So I'm excited. Maybe I'll get them on for testimony. See how that went. I'd like to know what their feeling is on that. Mike Freeman's been through the suck cycle.
Yeah.
Eric Tuttle's been through the suck cycle.
He has.
So it's been pretty cool. And I know there's been others, because there's a lot of the books that are out there. So hopefully people aren't just buying the book and throwing it on a shelf. It's a program.
Yeah. Do it.
Yeah. All right. So cool. That covers the courses. And then a couple last things on building and becoming. So I like to say that it's exclusively for people that are willing. In my first book, I use the term the willing a lot. It's not for most people, unfortunately, because the prospect of parting with, and here's the rub. You ready, guys? It's super high ticket. It's $99 a month. Okay. That's not a high ticket mentorship, coaching, community encouragement development program. Okay. So for $99 a month, so you get that for, if you're interested in throwing $99 down, you should expect a rapidly improving life, I think. Your lifestyle, your habits, things that are working their way towards transformation. But the prospect of that, it's weird because it's freaking crazy to a lot of people. I don't have that kind of time or energy. And I'm like, what? That's
Or
why we're where we're at.
exactly. Or they don't realize how far they've gone the other way.
Yeah.
They're in denial about that's not for me. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realize how much weight I gained between summer and November.
Yeah.
I thought I was fine.
Yeah.
But the photos don't lie.
Yeah.
And so I think if again people need to take a look in themselves and be like, maybe
Honest reflection is where real life change begins. Our nation is in the shape that it's in because of the mentality of, I don't want to change. I don't need to change. And even if I realize I probably should, I just think it's too much work and society's made me addicted to comfort. So I'm not interested.
well, this is probably
Go.
gonna get but it's behind our world has become to a place where being fat is okay. You scroll through TikTok, Facebook, whatever you're on, and it's what I eat in a day as a fatty, what I eat in a day as this. And it's like, why are we this is what our kids are taking in their eyeballs. That's not okay. First of all, you're killing yourself on the inside. Like, why are we acknowledging this? Why are we putting this out into the world? Why are you making this cool?
I can't believe, and I love that you brought that up. Our society celebrates slow suicide. It's celebrated.
Oh, wow.
So if there was, let's say that there was a substance that someone could drink once a day and it would slowly kill them over 15 years. That slow assisted suicide, would we celebrate that and clap for people, or would we want to get them help?
We'd want to get them help.
We would.
Yeah.
But when it's done with freaking Big Macs, we celebrate it and say, if you say anything else, you're shaming somebody. You're a bigot. You're a misogynist. You're a gaslighter. You're judgmental. You're
diet culture, all of this.
What are we talking about? We're celebrating slow suicide in this country. And you and I and RFK Jr. ain't about it.
Yeah.
And we're done with it. And we're going to tell people the truths. And if you follow my social media, you're going to see hard pills to swallow.
1,000%. And what we're doing with Arlie is we're having her see, no, Arlie, you need to read the back of ingredients. I want you to look at what a portion is, not because I want to gear her towards an eating disorder by any means. She can eat what she wants at the end of the day. Like, we have Oreos upstairs, mainly because of me before 75.
That's correct. Let's just tell the truth to the audience.
They're the white chocolate.
She shame eats. That's a joke.
And I hide in the garage. But we're very transparent. Arlie, what's the serving size on that? Look at the ingredients. Can you read the ingredients on there? How much sugar is in there? Because I want her to be informed. She's not going to be under a roof forever. So when she gets older,
okay.
But you're probably still going to have to pay her rent.
Oh no.
But I want her to know, because when she's 16 and out with friends, I want her to choose a better alternative.
Yeah.
Don't get, the Kool-Aid or whatever. Drink the bai instead. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that we're doing a really good job when most parents are like, well, are going to bring Diet Mountain Dew for after the game or whatever. I think we're doing really good.
And the best job that we're doing is setting the example. So what we say matters, but not near as much as her watching her mom do 2 workouts. We had a virtual blizzard here for a few hours, so the audience knows. Allie was outside when it was below zero, 35-mile-an-hour winds and snow hitting her face to where it was painful. She went out and did her 45-minute outdoor workout for her 75 hard critical task. She just finished, she's on day 20, and everything's done except your water.
Yeah.
And you got to drink a gallon of water a day. But with the weather we're having, she's still out there doing that. That's the impact that you're making on Arlie, because our words matter, but the actions, the lifestyle that you're living out, the authentic person that you're becoming and that you're being transformed into, that is going to change her life.
Yep.
The actions you're taking now, transformation that you've decided to undertake, is changing your daughter's future.
I agree.
That's wonderful. We have just about 30 seconds left, so we're close. Give me a minute or two of grace and we're going to finish, okay? So I just want to bring this home. Do you have anything else you want to throw in before I get my final paragraph out?
This is a new blue shirt. I've never worn it before. It still had its tags on. What do you guys think?
10 out of 10 for me. I'm biased, but
I think I got this when my dad was here for Christmas.
I've never seen it. She came downstairs. I said, "Where's that from?" Haven't seen any new charges. Okay, so guys, thank you. And I want to finish up with this. Some of you are listening to this and your heart's racing a bit faster. If so, reach out and schedule a free call. Let's see if building and becoming is the right fit. Some of you tuned out a while back, turned your nose up, stayed inside your head where it's really comfortable because no one expects anything from you. And most sadly, you don't expect anything from yourself. Guess what? No judgment, but you aren't our kind. When you get sick of being sick, tired of existing instead of living, desperate for a life of purpose, and hungry for a tribe who you can do it all with, we're going to still be here for you. Growing, winning, and transforming. Transformation will cost you. It requires an investment. That investment is time, money, discipline, sacrifice.
I like that.
Guys, till next time.
Bye.